Hello, howdy, good evening. We're going to do some home brewing, or I'm going to do some home brewing, and I guess you're going to watch me do some home brewing. We're going to make some weird wines because that's what I like to make, because I can buy normal ones in the shop, so I might as well experiment on some weirdness. And it's either going to be disgusting or nice, and either way I'm going to have to drink it because, you know, I can't waste what I've made. Okay, so today I've made like a little thing of what I'm going to make, and you can see my horrible handwriting. So green bean and mint, or runner bean, depending on what you call it, is going to be the wine, and then in that we're going to put a litre of orange juice to add body or depth or whatever, just so it isn't water and the stuff. Because otherwise I find it's a bit watery and then it has the weird taste of whatever you add. And then 1.5 kilos of sugar, which will ferment out the alcohol, or the yeast will digest it to make carbon dioxide and ethanol. And then a cup of tea, which adds like nutrients and tannins and stuff to the thing. And I say cup of tea, I mean like not actual tea. Well, it is tea, but don't put milk in, because you don't want your wine to have milk in it. So it's just tea bags and water. I put 2 tea bags in to make it stronger, and it's brewing over here to make it strong. And then the other one, which I'm going to do, is beetroot and vanilla. I made beetroot and mint before and it was quite nice, so I'm going to try this again. Oh, I got tea on my notebook. And again, we're going to put orange juice in to add some stuff, which is over here. And then the same sugar and then the same tea. So for the first one, the mint is here, which I'm going to cut up shortly, or de-leaf and cut up. And then the beans are here. I just washed them. I'm going to chop them up, and we'll do that on the camera in a minute, and then boil them up in there with a couple of litres of water, but we'll get to that. The sugar's here for both of them, so I got 3 kilos, so half in each one. And then for the yeast, if we open my tub, so I've got some hops which we're not going to use, and those ones. So I'm going to use these ones, which are orange wine yeast, which is for the, well, orangey tea wines that you can make. And as we're putting orange juice in it, I figure it's suitable. The other yeasts I got are just like champagne yeast, which I use for cider and stuff. And then I got some cider ones and some general wine ones, and this one, which I will make a video of at some point. Make a Christmas pudding wine, I guess around Christmas time when they appear back in the shop. So I'll put that back in there. Okie dokie, we're going to get the stuff sterilised, and for sterilising I use this, which is quite cheap off eBay. I normally buy a few tubs at a time. For the brewing we got 2 demijohns, 2 gallon demijohns, which we use 1 for each. And at the moment I just got these stoppers in, which is what I use after I've racked normally, because they let the gases out if it's still giving off a bit of gas, so it doesn't like pop off or explode or whatever. These have been in the garage, they've been washed and sterilised before, but I'm going to sterilise them again before we use them, just to make sure. And then I got the funnel that will help put the stuff in there, or the must, or whatever you call it. A jug for pouring into there, and then 2 sets of airlocks and bungs for the thing. I should probably say that I sterilise it enough, but I don't go over the top. I've never had an issue with infection in my brews, which people seem to have. Quite a lot of people on the internet that I've read, or forum threads that I've read, have had an issue with infections and stuff in their brew, but I've never experienced that. So obviously I'm doing it right. So put a little bit in there. Put that there. Fill this up with water. Okay, so we're gonna prepare the mint and the beans, and then add them to the pot with the water and bring it to a boil, and then add the sugar. This is a mix of peppermint and spearmint mints that I've grown in the garden, and then the beans are ones that we've grown in the garden as well, which I picked earlier. So get the stalks off, because you don't want stalky bits in your wine. Like I said, it doesn't make any difference if we're going to sieve it, but it makes it a bit easier to chop it up. Yes, it doesn't have to be amazingly chopped, because just enough to let the stuff out. The mint stuff, the mint oils. And I have washed this before I'm doing this, because I did pick it from the garden. Obviously I don't really want bugs in my wine. Okay, so that's chopped enough. So we're going to pick this up, put it in the pot. Oops. And pick this up and put it in the pot. And then we go over here and we'll get some beans. And then bring them over here, make a pile. Okay, so we got all of these. There's a few more to chop. I'm going to put these ones in the pot. Whoops, that was a bit loud. I'm going to put these ones in the pot, mainly because they're in the way. So I'll put that in there. I need a spoon. And I'm going to say I haven't sterilised this spoon, which obviously is bad in the home brewing world, but this is going to be boiling and that should be fine. I've never had any issues, I've never had any infections from just using a spoon that's then been in boiling water. So we should be okay. Same goes with the jug that I'm going to use for adding water to this. Hasn't been sterilised, but that's going to be heated up to the point where it should kill anything anyway. Okay, so I've got about 2 litres of water. And this is the worst jug, as you can see when you pour, it likes to pour down the back, or the side. So we put 2 litres in. I'm probably going to add another litre, just to make it a little bit more. Plus the litre of orange juice will be 4 litres, and that will be about the demijohn. It was about 4 litres and a bit, so it should be okay. Okay, that's just under a litre. That will do. You put that in. Oops. Oh, my mint's getting stuck. And then we'll turn this on, let it get up to a boil, and then add the sugar, and then let it boil for about 30 minutes or so. The green beans and mint are getting up to a boil, and that's quite toasty. So I've got the kilo of sugar here, which I'm just going to dump in the bowl. Oops. It's quite hard to do one-handed. Which is our kilo. It's quite a lot of sugar. But obviously it's all gonna, the yeast is gonna eat it all up and produce ethanol, so there won't actually be any sugar in it. Well, ethanol and carbon dioxide. So a kilo, and I'm gonna do 1.5 kilos. It's well, it's boiling away quite well. It smells really nice, weirdly. Oops. Get off. Okay, so now we'll turn it down a little bit, and I'm gonna add the sugar, and then we'll put all of this in, like so. Pretty much all in, minus some bits. And and give it a stir. So obviously we want the sugar to mix in with the solution. Okay, so this is boiling away. I've set a timer for, well, I set it for 30 minutes and now it's counted down 3 minutes. Okay, so for the other wine, the other weird wine, we have beetroot ready to cook, ready to eat, which is the finest beetroot that I bought from Budgeon's earlier when I went to get sugar. So I'm going to cut them up, apart from 2 because I want to have them with my dinner. Oh no, everything's pink. I have gloves on, because I don't want to stain my hands red from these, which I already have kind of from when I was unpackaging them. And these are better normally reserved for working on the Land Rover. However, they're perfectly fine for protecting your hands against beetroot. Mainly cutting it up as I figure a greater surface area will give better results in the boiling stage. So I can really well rep these. It's a Kuhn Recon. Recon? I don't know if that even shows up. It is a tomato knife, because it's serrated, and apparently that makes it great for tomatoes. However, it is great for pretty much every vegetable, and I use it a lot for cooking, because it just slices everything so easily. And it does punch above its weight for a small knife. So you can even like chop big things with it, but obviously you just have to bear in mind that it is small. I think that's sufficiently chopped. I need to itch my nose again. I don't know what it is. So when you put gloves on, your nose is suddenly really itchy for some reason. Like when you're touching something that you can't really itch yourself with because you know it's engine oil or really stainy beetroot. You just get the urge. Just scumbag body. There's my beetroot that I've chopped. There's the vanilla. There's the mess I made, which I'm just going to wipe up in a minute. There is the green beans. That's not that hot. Boiling away. Oh, the green beans are mint, and it does smell really, really nice. I have to say that. Oh, and the sugar as well is boiling away in there. So I'm going to give that a stir in a minute, and it is, oh, it's almost done, So in a minute we can give that a stir, let it cool down, put it in the demijohn shortly, and then we can get started on this one. Okay, so beetroot is chopped as you just saw. I've got 2 vanilla pods here, which I'm going to half, and then we'll boil it up with this in there once this is cooled down a little bit. So I've just taken this off the heat because the 30 minutes is up, so I'm going to let that cool a little bit while we do this, and then I'm going to strain this into the demijohn with the orange juice and add some water, but then again we'll have to let it cool down a fair bit before we add the yeast, because the yeast don't like the high temperatures, and also we need to add the cup of tea. Which is cool now. I added 2 tea bags to each one, so it's fairly strong. And it's got all the tea scum on it for extra yumminess. So I'll strain that out shortly. So I will do the vanilla. I'll put it down here so you can see it better, hopefully. Oops, drop the knife. Okay, so we will cut the vanilla. Like so, and cut this one in half also. Maybe actually cut it into extra bits. Yeah, I think we'll cut it in half again, or maybe 4. Cut it like that. Extra bits, extra surface area for extra boiling. That's my my brainwave anyway. Vanilla's chopped, beets is chopped. I added them to the same bowl because they're going in at the same time. That's cooling down. Yeah, it's still fairly warm. I probably wouldn't put my hand in there. Okay, so we're gonna get this prepped for putting that in. So we're gonna add the tea, which I've taken the tea bag out of. So we put this in. So tea goes in. And then we're gonna add the orange juice, which is here. So actually first, I'm gonna get the scissors. I'm gonna add an air hole to the carton, so that it like goes in better. So we do that, and lift it up and put it in here, and then it will just pour because obviously it has an air hole now, rather than glug 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 glug. So we have our litre of orange juice and our litre of tea. Not litre of tea, cup of tea. Litre of orange juice, cup of tea. And tea thing, that one over here. Yeah, so we're going to let that cool just for a little bit more, probably like 10 minutes or so. Okie dokie. So we are going to put this into here and via the funnel and the strainer or the sieve and the bucket. It's not really a bucket, is it? A jug. There we go. Words are hard. Okay, so I'm gonna put you down over here in the hope that it catches everything. Okay, I just dropped you in the toaster. You're in there. Oh, I saw some beans. Surprisingly heavy for some reason. Go up. Ooh, spill it on the floor. Get most of it into the strainer. And then we do it again. Get a jug full. Pour it into here. I'm going to put the jug down for a moment and I'm going to get a bowl. Whoops. This bowl. And I'm going to put it over here. And I'm going to put this into here. Because we're going to put that in the compost once it's done. So, nothing's wasted. It will get put back into the garden and be used to grow more beans at some point in the future. Everything out of there is in here. It's still too warm to put the yeast in, but I'm going to fill it up to water with this to about here, ready for yeasting. I've put an airlock on this, on the runner bean one, just to keep any nasties out and ready for yeasting. Once it cools down some more, because it is quite warm still, so gonna probably have to leave that for a few hours before I can put the yeast in. So I've washed everything up, ready over there and here. So this is ready for the beetroot and vanilla, which I'll add now. Howdy. So as you can see, the vanilla and beetroot is sufficiently boiling away. It does smell very lovely, just like the other one did. So now I'm going to add the sugar. Sugar goes in. As you can see, vanilla and beetroot is boiling away well. So I'm going to set the timer for 30 minutes or so, let it boil away. I've put the tea and the orange juice in the other demijohn, and this is ready to be put in here. Well, kind of ready. It's a bit hot, as you can see. Maybe you might be able to see the vapor. I don't know. It's fairly toasty, but it's cool enough to go in here. So let that drain a bit, so I try not to spill it everywhere like I did before. jugs in here. Probably tip it in because there's not much remaining. Full up of the juice that was in the saucepan, which is a bit less than the other one, and then I'll just add some water to get it up to about here, let it cool down like the other one, and then add the yeast. So I've pitched the yeast into the bean and mint wine and the beetroot vanilla. In the beetroot one you can see it there, and it's the same in this one, but obviously you can kind of see it but not as well. So I'm going to leave these for an hour or so and then come back, and they should be bubbling in the airlock, and we'll be able to see that on the camera. Okay, so as you can see, they're bubbling away pretty well. See, it's only been about half an hour or so. So I'm going to leave them in the utility room, and we'll come back tomorrow and see how they're doing. Okay, so howdy, it's the next day, as you can see, because it's light, not dark, and I've come to check on these. I put them in the sink overnight in case that they bubbled up through the airlock, which they do sometimes, and I'm probably going to leave them in the sink for a couple of days, just to make sure that if it does bubble up through, I can clean it off and everything, and they won't go everywhere. And as you can see, they're bubbling away nicely. So they'll probably bubble for a couple of weeks, maybe a little bit longer, and then once they've stopped bubbling and they start to settle, then I'll rack it off into another demijohn, let it settle again, and then see if it needs some more or whether it can be bottled straight away. And lastly, we put this in the compost. Okay, so now it's about maybe 48 hours, a bit longer after, and as you can see, they're both bubbling away really fast. You can see all the bubbles come up, and it's all fizzy. That one's harder to see the bubbles, but it is bubbling away just as much, maybe a little bit less. This one seems to be a lot more vigorous. This one did overflow, which is why they're still in the sink, and I just took this off and washed it all out under the tap and then put it back on.